Hi everybody, it's Kathy here from Kathy Loves a Scrap, and I'm coming to you from the land down under, and I am getting ready for November with all about that base that Ginger from Ginger's Corner is putting forward for us, where we're using pre-made bases for 20 layouts in 20 days. So that's going to be an amazing event, but I really need to get a hustle because I am so far behind and it's almost to the end of October. So I am making some bases today, and I'm pulling together all of my scraps from my recent layouts so that I can create some very different bases on which I'll be able to draw upon for November's event. So this was left over from a previous layout, and I've gone through my scraps to pull together other pieces that may or may not match. And this black, white or black and creamy colour rose at the top fits nicely with the colour pattern here. So I think I'm going to put that here to the top, and that will then almost fill this page. The best part about building up these pre-made bases are that I don't know where they're going to go. And I have no idea what photos I'm going to put on them, because even as I look at them, I don't know what photos are going to go onto them. I have this strip here, and I do like it that it has got another row of flowers in there to draw in with that bottom cluster that already exists. So this is going to be interesting, and I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking it's either going to be a larger photo or several smaller photos that would fit on this one. And I like how the bands are all coming across and it's divided into that section of thirds. And this is the best part about building up with your scraps. You just mix and match. As long as the colours match, the page will usually work. And then the next secret is getting the colours of the photos to match. Now this one here, I'm thinking maybe a black and white photo, could be something, and if it had reds in it, that would be awesome as well, because that would really make this page pop. So there's a quick simple layout ready to go, a simple base. It's got three distinct sections to this layout. The flowers will be an option. There's a big space to the bottom. I can have a tile at the top, tile at the bottom, running down the side. Pretty amazing. So that's the first one. Here's the next one, and when you look at the colours that I pulled together here originally, you'll think, my goodness, what is going on with those colours? Now, I have this frame which I've had in a box for years, and I'm literally telling you years. And I have got a plain white base. Oh my goodness, I'm venturing into the white base, and I'm going to build up with all my colours on this with the leftover scraps that I have from many layouts. I don't know about other people, but sometimes this tape has a mind of its own. So once my layout's down, I always do it one side at a time, so I avoid the bubbles. I'm going to put in all these colours together. So I'm just going to have a little bit of a map out with it here. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, why are there so many different shades, so many different colours on this one layout? And how is this going to work? Well, remember, matching of a photo always brings down the back page, and choosing photos that have those colours in it help as well. So I'm thinking this may be a raid of the old photo stash with my children when they were younger doing things. The colours remind me of Easter, so maybe there's some Easter photos I can draw on. I'm not too sure yet, so it'll be interesting to see. Although this bright blue, you're thinking, how is this brilliant blue going to fit in there? And now she's throwing in some gingham here, and I'm just going to cut them down into squares because they lend themselves to those squares perfectly. And I'm thinking that I can do something with those squares on this layout, and it can balance out because there's two sets of 4, which is really good. And then I'm pulling it all together. I'll just get rid of that. You saw me use a paper edge punch for one of the strips. That's just to add a little bit of interest. Now that paper's come out of the pad, obviously, so I'm just going to trim off that end there. And now I'm going to start pulling it all together now that I have all these pieces, because I'm thinking I had a bit of an idea when I was looking at it what I wanted to do with these to create this base, but I don't know. Let's see. So I'm going to go with the band across the middle like we always tend to lend ourselves when we're building a layout. And then I'm going to have a top and bottom strip here. They're both striped, so that ties together. And I have this punch which didn't do so well on the end, but that's okay because I'm now going to cut it and put it at both sides. And already my layout is coming together and it's pretty much evenly spaced. Now I'm just going to trim this down because remember I've got that border on the outside and I just want it all to come together nicely. Yes, this is going to be an interesting layout when it all finishes, with between embellishments and titles and photos. There's lots happening in the papers, so I will have to think carefully how that works. It may be that we use white as our stabilizer on this one, or a pale pink maybe, or we could go dynamically different and choose another striking colour. But let's see how this all pans out. I don't know about you, when I make bases from scraps, I get a little worried that I'm not going to be able to pull anything together and it's going to look silly and the base is just, why did I do that? The best thing about with the base is they can and cannot stay that way. It's up to you. You can move them and manipulate them if you like. I'm actually making them a little bit permanent because of the tape that I'm using, but that's okay. You can always lift and manipulate on the day when I go to use it if I have to. This one here, it's the main belly band of the page, which is a focal centering point. So the photos will have an anchor point, and I can either go diagonally with photos. I could fit on here 2 or 3 photos. I could fit 1 photo. I could fit a panorama maybe. It just depends on what I'm looking at on the day when I go to do this. So as you can see, this is coming together. At first, when you saw that bright blue striped, you went, what is that going to do? But if you have a look down the bottom, there's the blue colour through that bottom base, which makes that tie in and marry with the rest. And there's the basic part. Now, with this layout, I get a little bit carried away and I sort of tend to think, well, I'll add this here and I'll add that here, and that's a tendency I have to be very aware of because I tend to do that. I'm not even sure. I think maybe it's because there are no photos. It's given me freedom to go, you know what, add this together, add that together, put a little bit of this and a little bit of that together and see what we get. So I have now got all of these ginghams going on. Now I just want to put this in and see how this rolls. I'm going to add a little bit of interest to that middle panel and draw that gingham together, and that also works for me. As you can see, it's bringing your focus back into the center of the layout, which is a really good point for the eye. So you can just cut pieces when you've got scraps and manipulate them onto your layout, and that shows you how you are not limited. Sometimes when you have photos already pre-chosen, you limit yourself with how you're going to arrange a page. You think, no, I can only do this to the page, I'm only going to do that to the page because of the photos. Well, without photos, you can go, well, I'm going to go for it and add everything I can, and then find the photos that will match that busyness of the layout. And sometimes busy layouts are really, really effective. And it all comes down to the way you match your photos in the end. So as I always say when I'm creating a layout, if the colours in the photos match the colours on the layout, then the photos will be the hero. It's when you don't have photos that complement your background that you start to lose your photo into the background. And I've made that mistake many, many times with my layouts, where I've created layouts with papers and thought that they matched the photos, and then when it all comes together, the photos themselves actually disappear into the background, and it's a bit disappointing. So that's something over time I've learnt, and I try very hard to remember when I am creating a layout. Okay, I've got all of these strips left, so I'm thinking I'm going to put in some little banners here, little fishtail banners over to the side, because I really do like a good banner. As I said, I went to town with this layout. I threw in everything but the washing machine and the kitchen, I think. I've got some banners, I've got some squares, I've got some paper punches, I've got multiple different patterns happening, but they're all coming together and it's blending nicely. Well, I think it's blending nicely. You might have another opinion, and that's okay because we're each to their own. And we're just waiting, as I said, until November, where Ginger has this great hop organised for us, where we use our bases that we create and do 20 pages throughout November. So I really do need to get a hop on. I have a million scraps. I just don't sit and do. Now that I've done that, I've got little scraps of this Vicky Burton paper left with the little hearts. So I'm just going to fussy cut out some hearts. And yeah, I know I'm not supposed to embellish, but this is a little scrap. It's tiny and it'll get lost in the scrap box. So I'm just going to utilise it here. Then it's out of my pile and gone. I'm going to take a couple of hearts out of this one. I'm going to add those on, and already you can see that this now is lending itself to quite a few options, and I really do think that they add that little bit extra to this layout. And the fact that these are nice and bright tone down the rest of the page if you watch as they go onto the layout. So yeah, don't be afraid to mix match. It's really quite refreshing actually to think, look how amazing this is coming together. By none of these papers are from any one range. They all come from multiple different ranges. They're all strips that I've had sitting in there for ages, and I am just pulling them together. And the way I pulled them together was by the colours. I just looked at the colours and thought, how can these all go together? And I'm sorry that I'm making you sit here and watch the fussy cutting, but sometimes people like to see how that comes about as well. So I'm just doing the final one here, which I'm adding to that top, and then I will put those onto the layout ready for this whole thing to be completed. And as you can see, I now have got the yellows at the top. They're bleeding down to the yellow at the bottom. I've got the blue, the lighter bluey green aqua colour to the sides, and they draw the eye diagonally down. The darker blue heart draws the eye down, and the pinks match as well. So that's how I'm getting the balance there. You can see that they are in sets of 3, which is great, and the single one on the banner, that's an odd, and that's always still remembering that there's the odds, and that pulls that layout together. So it'd be interesting to see how that one comes together with some photos. And here's my final one. And you may recognise some of the papers from my layouts that I've been doing recently. And of course, these colours are matching my Alaska photos. So I can already tell you that they'll probably end up in my Alaska album with this one, somewhere along the line, with some of the photos that I took on that amazing trip. So this one here, back to simple again. We're going to use just big patches of colour. I'm going to build this layout by putting them together, and because I have this really big patch down here at the bottom, I'm going to use a larger punch for the edge, just because I can, and just because there is that much space on that paper, and this will allow for something different to look at on this layout as well. So that's the best thing about scraps. You tend to experiment a little bit more than you do when you're pulling out a brand new piece of paper. I'm going to throw that in behind there, and that can see that beautiful lacy effect of that punch there. And then I'll put that band across the bottom, and once again I'm using that rule of thirds, and I have 3 colours matching, and I have a top area, I have that bottom area broken by that band, which would be an anchor shelf. Most likely for some photos, if not some photos, then some clusters or the title, and this will be a very calming page compared to the one that I did previously. So that page on the back is even good. I could have done that for a birthday one, but I like the opposite side, the B side, and that's an old Kaiser craft as well. So I'm layering this one up, as you can see, and that just looks so beautiful. Look at that layout, look at that banner, look at that edging just there. It's just really, really pretty and effective against that grey background. Now I'm just going to put in this belly band across here, and that's, as I said, will probably be a ledge. I could turn this one upside down, I could turn it sideways. There's lots of options for this one. Now I have these 3, oh look at that, matching strips here, which I'm going to incorporate into this layout. And I'm going to trim these down, and I'm going to halve this one so that I've got 2 of them on there, and I'm just going to add that to the top for a little bit of interest. Why not? See, I could put it that way. No, I think I actually like it going across there. That looks pretty effective. A little hint of a lilac in there. That's something that could be considered when I'm looking at my photos or my mounting pieces or my embellishments when I look at it in the future. Putting these down quickly to the side, and see, just using the techniques that we know and creating elements that we know in preparation for the layout makes these bases something that if you're in a hurry and you want to play with paper but you haven't got the time to do a full layout, then play with some paper that you've got in your scraps and build yourself some bases, being ready for days when you want to just do a layout, and then you can just pull it out. So it has a double purpose here. I'm just not liking that that's sitting there. So, yes, perfect. That's it. Oh no, I pulled that away. I'm not too sure. I don't like that it just sits there against the page. So here we go. Look at this amazing. Look at this collection of branding strips or zip strips. See, I tell you to keep them all. It's really good because it's amazing what you can find when you go through things that will marry nicely to your layout. It's just a matter of skimming through them. And I always go through them when I'm doing a layout, then I'm looking for that extra little something to add to it. Sometimes it's the quote that's on that zip strip, sometimes it's the pattern. But today I'm just obviously looking for something so that that middle band doesn't just look like it's sitting there. And so I'm looking for complementary colours. I'm looking for something that I can use and hopefully have doubles of. I really think that it needs a double top and bottom. You could probably split that. That might work because that's got a lace effect in it, and it's the colours of those banners at the top. Got some wood grain there. That might be a possibility. Just trying to work out what it is. But in the end, I do find a double strip that I have, and I actually use it on there. And it's none of these beautiful ones which I'm pulling out now. It actually turns up being two strips with words running across, and there you go, I found them. There it is. You can see Adventure, Discover, and that works perfectly because I already know that this will probably end up with my Alaskan photos. So that's what it's about. Adventure, live, discover, laugh, they're the sorts of things. So I am imagining that that's where this one's going to end up. And now I have another layout done for you. So that's 3 bases. Took a little bit of time to pull them together, but they're ready to go for November. I'm Kathy from Kathy Loves Scrap. Give me a thumbs up if you like something here. Make sure that you have a go at creating your own bases. Don't forget the subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. Thank you if you are. Leave me a comment. I love the feedback. I will be back soon with another series of pre-made bases ready for this hop. You can find me on all my socials under Kathy Loves to Scrap. Thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to watch the next video being recommended right now. Happy scrapping. Till next time.